welcome to another episode of the It's Just a Hill Cycling podcast. I am what we'd call the host of the show, Jon Stenning, and I am here with my dad, who I think wants to be called the co-host for this episode. His name is also Jon Stenning. Hi, Dad. Welcome to the show. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You are sort of in pain from laughing. If you're not watching this, if you're listening to this podcast instead of watching, people might not be able to see that you are in an arm sling. You recently got into a pretty bad crash on your bike. Sorry. I mean, we've been going through it together. This is not the first time I've apologized to you. Imagine if it was.
I've apologized to many people for the crash.
Yeah, bad. I think we're in a little bit, we're going to talk about embarrassing moments, but, we'd be sort of burying the lead if we didn't talk about you going down. But you're on the mend, you're feeling better, you started physical therapy. We don't need to dwell on the accident. I think this is something that you and I have talked about a lot, but cycling is a calculated risk. Every single time you clip in, it's a calculated risk. And maybe sometimes you can take some more risks than normal. It's probably not a good idea, probably a better idea to play it safe. What are your thoughts on taking risks?
I did not calculate that properly, and I will not be drafting trucks anymore.
Yeah, well, hey, what are you going to do? You can only learn from it, right? You can't go back and change it. And it does seem like you want to get back on your bike. I think that's probably a big hurdle for a lot of people that crash. But it seems like basically from day one that I've been talking to you that you have wanted to get back on your bicycle, something that you love to do, ride your bike.
I think it might have been different if I had been hit by a car.
Yeah.
But it was my error.
Yeah, good point. Yep.
And I can prevent that from happening in the future. So I don't think I have no qualms about getting back on my bike.
Yeah. And you're feeling better, right? I mean, you walked 5 miles today. Today's the longest walk that you've done.
No, I walked 5.02 the other day. I walked 5.01 today.
Nice. And how are you tracking that? Just with your phone, just Strava on your phone in your pocket?
Strava on my phone.
Yeah. Nice. That's good. Feeling good?
Yeah. Yep. Averaged 19 minutes a mile today.
That's faster than Harry. That's faster than my dog Harry walks. He's about 22 miles.
4 inches tall.
That's true. And what's physical therapy been like? You started that this week. I think you've had 2 sessions so far, 2 full sessions, right? How's that been?
It's been a little tough. I go again tomorrow morning at 8:45. They do work you hard. I guess
that's what I heard. It's not easy. It's like rehabbing workouts, right?
Yes. No physical therapy for my ribs. Just blowing at this spirometer.
Yep.
But physical therapy for the shoulder is brutal. I guess since I haven't really moved this arm in 7 weeks.
Yep.
I guess your muscle seize up pretty well and scar tissue starts forming immediately.
Yep.
So it's hard to get that area moving.
Yep.
So they do manipulate me themselves. Plus they have me do things. I actually bought a pulley system for the house.
What's that like? Like you set them in the door frame or something?
It's attached to the door frame, and I take my sling off and have my hands are gripping the end of the pulley rope.
Yep.
And I pull my left arm up with my right arm just to get.
Oh, okay. Yep. Just to move it up.
Correct. Yep. It probably goes about this high right now.
Yeah, but it does. What it's doing is it's working the cartilage out, right? It's working your rotator cuff and getting you more used to the mobility that you once had, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can't have any weight bearing for 8 more weeks, they say. And the accident happened on February 9th.
Yeah, and we're recording this on April 4th. So it's been almost 2 months and another 8 weeks. I mean, it's got to be tough, mentally, physically. Yeah.
I do have my days, but I'd say overall, I've been looking forward rather than
back.
Yes,
that's good. Yeah, that's right. And then, I did mention we're going to talk about embarrassing moments. Obviously, you're embarrassed, but I think people probably are embarrassed anytime they go. Are you embarrassed?
Not at all.
What about okay, let's talk the opposite side of the spectrum. You're at a red light, you fail to clip in properly and you tip over on your side. Would you be embarrassed then?
Definitely.
You'd be more embarrassed then than you would for what you did.
Yes, this is what I did February 9th was just stupidity.
Right. To be frank, you've been kind of hard on yourself about it. It wasn't like you didn't make necessarily the smartest decision, not to put you on the spot or anything, but
I was with three other guys and
yeah.
none of them did the same thing I did.
Yeah.
I was way too close to the vehicle.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to get on a high horse here. I've been there too. And ever since you got into your accident, I have seen big trucks go by me and thought about it a lot differently, just as a bystander. Right. I mean,
I have always been a very close rider.
Yeah.
Even to another bicycle.
Sure.
Just to try to save myself as much energy as I
can. For terms of drafting is concerned, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I will even look at that a little differently.
Sure.
I'll probably be a little gun shy.
I'm sure. Yeah. You'll just have to do most of the pulling. You think that's what you have to be the guy pulling all the time?
I don't think that happens too often.
It's interesting. Like, I feel I've gone down on my bike a few times, twice. I've gone down on my bike, I would say 3 times.
I was
pretty hard. You were with me twice. The other time I was with Adam and Sean. That was on like a big gravel ride. The first time I think was on ice on the bike path, and that was relatively innocent. But I was embarrassed. I remember being very embarrassed.
You were very mad at me when I.
Yeah, that's where my embarrassment came from. I was mad.
No fault of mine on either one.
Yeah, well, we have a history. We have a relationship. I get mad at you sometimes. I'm sorry.
I don't think it was ice. I think you might have been.
Oh my God.
I think you were avoiding ice and came back up onto the.
I was avoiding the ice, and then I went to hop up on the ice, and when I did, I slipped.
Exactly, on the lip.
Yeah, but that was relatively innocent. I don't even know if I cut myself up. The next time we did a gravel ride. We were reconning this 4 stages, right? 4 friends stages race that you and I did with Kevin Clammer and Jared O'Guire. And it was the recon of the gravel, right? Was it the recon or was it the actual? No, it was the recon, because then we had to go back within 3 days and I had to ride the same friggin' road again. And I was, like you said, I was a little bit like, I had like PTSD going down that same, over by Pontiac Dam.
Yeah,
we were barreling down. It was chunky, and I hit a rut. That happens on gravel roads from rain and stuff. Ooh, and I went down.
Yeah,
and I was riding a specialized tri-cross with 4 brake levers, 2 on the hoods and 2 on the tops. They were like cantilever brakes, rim cantilever brakes.
I bought that bike on Rayjot.
That was a fun bike. That was the bike I used to ride on gravel all the time. And I went down hard then, and I feel like you were pretty concerned when I went down. I hit my shoulder pretty good. Tore up my jersey.
I believe I was behind you.
Correct.
If I'm not mistaken. And I saw you.
Yeah, you were behind me.
Go down pretty hard, and you had, dirt on your face and everything.
Yeah, dirt on my face and my helmet. My bottles went flying. It was like on a sweeping left-hand corner, coming down on some gravel. But yeah, I mean, I remember being embarrassed then, but I don't think I was embarrassed. I think I was more embarrassed the first time, But yeah, so yeah, shit happens, I guess. I think your attitude of like wanting to move on from it and learn from it, but also like move forward rather than dwelling on the past seems to be the better thing. And I know people, maybe you'll be embarrassed about this. People have been asking about you a lot. People care about you. We didn't really like broadcast the information that you went down. But then once people found out, they were, some people. Oh, I actually want to talk about this. I actually want to talk about what I really think a local legend should be. But some people call you a legend, and they were concerned for you. You know what I mean? Like, some people call you Big John when they talk to me about you. How do you feel about that, Big John?
I think I'm smaller than you right now.
Um,
I weigh 154 pounds.
yeah, you definitely weigh less than me. Yeah. How? I mean, Are you slowly? Are you trying to eat more calories to get the weight back? I mean, that obviously happens from not working out. Your muscles are sort of
Oh,
going, not
so
gone, but
no,
it's all muscle. I mean, you're
um,
not a heavyweight guy. You're not like
no, but I think I was the day I hit the ground. I think I was weighing about 175,
yeah,
176.
yeah.
I look at myself in the mirror getting in the shower and I look like something from Men in Black, like an alien. Big head, small body, deformed in the chest area due to the.
Yeah, but see, now you're being hard on yourself again. Like
Oh,
you'll
that's.
be good.
I think it's funny.
I think your form will still be there on the bike, right? You just have to build that muscle back a little bit.
A lot. I have
Yeah,
hangy skin. I have hangy skin.
yeah. I mean, as a guy that like lost 75 pounds in his life, I also have hanging skin, especially around like my torso. But like, I mean, you're alive, right? That's good.
Could have died very easy.
The bike, and this seems like peanuts compared to, but your bike is relatively okay too, right?
It's been asked many times. The bike is fine for some odd reason.
Is that anyone's first question? How's the bike?
Oh, usually they're second or third.
Shit, how's your bike? Yeah.
Some people bust balls about it, like say,
How so? Should we go after them?
mainly Attila, because
Okay. Yeah. Very nice guy. Rides with you. Worked at the bike shop down there. I don't know if he still does, but nice guy. Great guy.
they brought my bike to the shop for me,
Oh. Yep. Right.
just to have it checked out. Um, and Attila would text me and say, "Well, your bike's ready. You coming out riding tonight?"
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't understand the severity of my injuries.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this happened on February 9th, and I believe the Super Bowl was on the 11th.
Yep. Okay.
And I thought I was telling mom and people that came to see me that, oh, I'm going to be home for the Super Bowl. I'm going
Yeah.
to
You were in the hospital for what, 17 days, 18 days, almost 3 weeks.
in the trauma unit, and I thought I was
Yeah.
going to be out of there in 2 days. I didn't realize the severity of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good thing that your bike's okay, I guess. Even though, getting a new bike can be exciting.
I look daily.
How do you now this is not we didn't even talk about talking about this, but like you live in Florida, I have the same bike as you. I don't ride it nearly as much. It basically sits on my trainer. It is a Look 785 Uez RS. It's a rim brake bike. How do you feel? Well, you've seen cycling change a lot over the years, right? You've been riding your bike for 40 years. How do you feel about the rim brake, disc brake thing? You live in Florida, so there's not that many hills. Like, do you feel like you are missing out riding a rim brake bike? What are your thoughts on that?
I did have a disc brake bike at one time. I had the S Works, but it wasn't a through axle.
Uh-huh.
It was the
So
one,
quick release.
just a quick release where it wasn't perfected yet. They still were a
Yeah,
little wonky on the rotor.
sure. This was in the day. Remember when disc brakes first came out, and they're like, people are going to cut their legs off with the rotors.
Well,
That doesn't
the
really happen.
UCI didn't allow. I don't think they
Yeah,
allowed disc brakes in the
they
Tour.
banned them. They did. They banned them at first. Yeah.
Um, I think disc brakes in Florida are actually a benefit because we ride in the wet weather a lot.
Oh, okay. Yep. Good
And
point.
rim brakes do not. I mean, I've had instances where you be in a pace line and somebody grabs a handful of brake in front of you, and
Yeah.
I think I'm the only guy left with rim brakes down here.
Yeah, and you are running carbon rims and rim brakes.
Do
Not
not
a good
stop.
combination. Not a good combination.
Yeah, I've had guys grab a handful of brake, and I've had to
Avoid.
come up on either side of them just to gain more stopping distance.
Yep.
But I've learned to perfect the feathering, the on off,
Yep.
on off to dry them out
Yep.
fairly quickly.
Yeah, it's different. If you were to buy a new bike, do you think you'd go disc brake?
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, your gravel bike has disc brakes. You have a Diverge. I know you don't ride necessarily as much, but that has disc brakes.
It has
So,
dip. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I love my disc brakes. The wet helps, and
Just stopping power.
yeah, it's just better stopping power. I don't think there's any denying it necessarily. But I also don't think like rim brakes should die. I think rim brakes are nice in a way.
Yeah, it's old school.
Yeah, it's old school. It looks cool. I think it looks clean. It's a little bit different. So talking about preferences, right? Rim brake versus disc brake, or this is something that we did talk about: hills versus headwinds. If you're going out on a ride, which do you have a preference as to hills versus headwinds? I know you live in sort of the flatland now, but the name of the club is It's Just a Hill. So what are your thoughts on hills or headwinds, or a little bit of both, or what?
I'd rather face hills than headwinds.
Yeah.
Due to the fact in Florida, it's flat. There's not a lot of tree cover. So if there's a 15-mile-an-hour wind, it feels like 25 would be in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Rhode Island roads, Connecticut roads are hilly into a valley, tree-lined roads. You're not going to catch a lot of wind in certain spots unless it's a dead-on headwind or you're going past a farm where it's wide open field, or a sod farm. But Florida, you get hammered.
I mean, it's easier to hide from the wind here. You can't hide from the hills.
You can't hide from it.
There's still nasty. There still can be nasty wind out in the woods. You know what I mean? It's not just the sod farms and stuff. Like,
I agree, but I still think Florida wind, a windy day in Florida is much worse than a
hilly, I think so.
Windy, hilly day in Rhode Island or southeastern Connecticut or eastern Connecticut.
Yeah, another thing I think you can also. I personally love to ride hills, so I think hills would be my choice any day, especially if I could just choose a calm day and never really have a headwind. But this is something that I feel like most people fail to wrap their head around, is like a headwind can become a tailwind if you just plan your ride the right way. You know what I mean? Like, a couple weeks ago, it was super windy. I rode 112 miles. I knew it was going to be windy. I rode 70 miles into the wind, so that the last 42 miles of my ride was a pure tailwind.
Yes.
Feels like cheating if you do it right.
Doesn't. If you don't do that, you're not too bright.
Well, you might, but okay. I agree, but that's a little harsh. If you live in a place like, if you live like right up against the coast and the wind is coming from the west, right? And you like can't ride any further west or east or whatever it is, right? You might be a little bit sort of shackled there, right? You only have so many choices of directions you can go in. But I don't think that's necessarily the norm, especially if you look at like, say, just the whole United States or even the whole world, right? There's less coastline than there is non-coastline. So
yes. Where I live in Florida, we don't have options like Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Rhode Island, I think you can leave your driveway and head east, north, west, or south. Here, we can go west for 6 or 8 miles. We can go east we'll have to go north a bit before we can go east because we have rivers and highways that we have to get over.
Right.
But we're basically riding north and south. Yep. So we do have a lot of east and west winds. So we get a lot and it's tough to echelon here because the roads are so narrow, and a lot of guys.
Some people don't even know what that means. Can you explain? Some people have no idea. They ride their bikes all the time. They don't even know what that means.
Say we have a 5-foot bike breakdown lane on a road here. Yep. If the wind's coming from your left, the guy in the lead should be as close to that white line as he can, if not
as far to the left as possible. Right.
So the other guys can get over to his right a little bit and echelon so they can catch a break from the wind. But we have had guys on the front with wind coming from their left and they're hugging the curb.
Right, because they're pushed over to the right already.
But some people will, like, we've had guys right up alongside of them and say, dude, get over to the freaking left. You got to help everybody else behind you. So
I think some people just don't know. Like, I think there's so much that, like, there's so many of these like weird unwritten things in cycling, and you just like assume that people know what you know, but like you don't. And if people don't ride in groups a lot, they might not understand that, right? And very rarely, it's not very rarely, but say like a headwind isn't always necessarily a true headwind, right? It can be a cross headwind or a cross tailwind. And if it's coming from your left a little bit, it makes sense to be behind to the right, ever so slightly, because you're not only shielding the wind that's coming from the front, but then you're also shielding the wind that's coming from the left. So yeah, it is a game of angles. And like you said, if the shoulder's only 5 feet wide, you can only fit so many bikes before. If you watch pro cycling, this happens a lot, like in those big races that happen in the Middle East, like the UAE tour or the Saudi tour. And they have these echelons that eventually the person at the end is shit out of luck because they're up against the curb, and you need to start a new echelon essentially if you really want to try to work together. And so the groups will be broken up into like six riders in one echelon and then another echelon. And it's this weird thing. If you don't know what you're looking at, you're like, why are these riders broken up like this? But I mean, it makes sense in terms of like efficiency, and cycling and efficiency, I think, go hand in hand, right?
I try to be as efficient as I can out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think efficiency and comfortability are like a big reason why I can ride as much as I do. I'm very comfortable on my bike. I think a lot of people, might value like different things. Like don't get me wrong, I like to be aero and I like to have a bike that's relatively light, but like being comfortable is like at the top of that list, like if I'm not comfortable, if my shoes are clipped on too tight, my ride's not going to be fun. I'm not going to be comfortable. I'm not going to want to ride as long. And the same thing can be said for efficiency, I think, being efficient. And I'm not saying you need to like do 20 miles an hour because like, who the fuck cares, but like just be efficient about your pedal stroke and how you're riding and like how you're hitting the wind and how you're planning your routes, right? Put the tailwind, just look at the freaking weather and put the tailwind at the end and stop complaining about the damn wind. We're all riding in. God, everyone.
I agree.
Unbelievable. Okay. Oh, all right. Are you good to move on? I guess. Oh, okay. One more question. Would you rather it be like a headwind in the first half of your ride and a tailwind in the second half of your ride, or a crosswind the whole time?
Oh, headwind, tailwind.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, crosswinds can be dangerous, can be scary.
And especially down here, a lot of guys have very deep dish rims.
Yes, of course. Bigger than 40s, right? Something deeper than a 40. Yeah.
Oh, you're all over the road.
Yeah, they will. Yeah. I mean, I think mine are like 35s or 40s, so they're pretty middle of the road, right? And even I hit a gust about a month ago, coming down a hill, opened up to a farm type of deal. And it was a little wobble, and it was like, holy cow, that can be scary. Yeah. So speaking of scary, I'm sorry, go ahead.
A lot of guys down here get into cycling at a later age.
Yeah.
And they have money because they're older and retired or good careers. Yeah, and they'll go out and buy top of the line stuff.
Yeah.
But they have no idea about riding with 80s in the wind.
Like, do you think they understand why stuff is top of the line, or you think they just want to buy something that's nice because they have there's nothing wrong with that, like having expendable income and like wanting to spoil yourself a little bit, especially if you've had a successful career, but are they understanding why Dura Ace is more expensive than Ultegra? No?
They
just think it's a little bit shinier?
No, they're looking at the guy next to them.
Yeah.
And saying, wow, look at what he has.
Yeah.
And they go to the shop and say, hey, I want what Joe bought or whatever.
Right. Yeah. There's a little bit of a rat race. There's a bit of a consumerism rat race going on, especially in cycling. I mean,
the Joneses.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I do not ride a cheap bike. I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm on my high horse, but I will not buy a new bike this year. That's what I'm telling myself. And I feel good with the bikes that I ride. I don't need to buy a new bike this year, but
bikes last me a fairly long time. I
think that's great.
I mean, we bought our looks together.
Correct.
And since then, I think
18.
Yeah, I think you've bought a Trek since then.
Okay. All right. Yep. I bought it. Yes, I bought an Amanda. Yep, that's right.
And then the bike you have now?
Well, the Amanda cracked, so
Oh,
naturally I had to replace it.
yep.
I mean, I didn't have to replace it, but it's not like I had. Yeah, I mean, this is the best example of the like this bike behind me.
What year is that bike? 19, let me guess. Rigid. I'm going to say 1985,
It's an '89.
89.
Yeah, it's a 1989 Klein Pinnacle.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, rigid mountain bike frame that I put some drop bars on.
Yeah.
But I mean, that wasn't also, I didn't like spend an arm and a leg for it. You know what I mean? It wasn't, it was, I bought it on eBay,
I don't think you
like
bought it.
300 bucks.
I think you bought it for the Seinfeld effect.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've ridden it like 2 times, but like, I mean,
What?
I'm obsessed with bikes. You know, basically, I have 3 bikes that I ride. One's on the trainer, one's my road bike, and one's my gravel bike. Do I
Yep.
need 3? I don't need 3. I could get away with 1. But
I have 3.
yeah, you get your main road bike, you got a backup bike, and a gravel bike, right? Or
Exactly.
a bike that you let friends use and people will come and use. And like Brian used it, and I think maybe I even used your Tarmac SL4 once.
That was the
Yeah,
white
right.
one.
It's an SL4, right? Yeah.
Not the red one though.
Oh, okay.
I have a red one now, an S Works SL
Yeah.
4 or
It's
5.
a 4. Yeah, it's a 4. Yeah.
But the white one you rode when you came down, I
Yeah.
think the first time.
Yeah. Was that a 3 or that was a 4 as well?
I think it might have been a 3. I sold that to a local guy that was so happy.
Yeah.
So happy that I
I mean,
sold it.
it's a solid bike, especially if like someone's trying to figure out what they want to do with riding, you know? Yeah. Okay. So I alluded to it earlier, but I said, speaking of scary, I bought a fake chain on Amazon. This is a fake chain. That's why it says fake on it, but it looks like a real chain. And just real quick. So I bought this. I always like to have a backup chain, you know, just so that like all of a sudden when my chain is stretched, I know it doesn't happen all of a sudden, but so I have one to swap out. I think this is probably something I learned from you. I like to have spare stuff like this, like expendables. So I bought this chain on Amazon, and I brought my bike into the bike shop and brought it into MBX. And you know, when I bring the bike in, I like to say, "Hey, I have an extra cassette, an extra chain." You know, so if you feel like things need to be swapped out for whatever reason, just let me know. Here's the chain. I've already paid for it. Well, Ben at MBX was like, "Where'd you get this chain?" It's like Amazon. He's like, "It's fake." He's like, "You don't need a new chain, so you're good. But like, this chain is fake." I was like, "What do you mean it's fake?" So he had opened it up, and there's a couple of ways to tell. The first being like this. See, I don't know if you can tell, but this little parallelogram, whatever the hell you want to call this, is white. While these 2 are silver. All 3 should be silver on a regular Shimano chain. All 3 should be silver. There's also some like different lettering or some different boxing. But one of the biggest tells, apparently, and you can tell me if you've experienced this as well, is the bag that it comes in is like a totally different plastic. Like the bag that's inside the box. Shimano takes good care to make sure that no moisture would get into their chains before you open the bag. And the bag has like a different texture to it. And this is just like a regular old cellophane, like cellophane you'd find on the outside of like a cigarette pack. You know what I mean? Like it's not good plastic. And sure enough, I went on Amazon and like tried to like file a claim, but it had been a couple of months, you know, because I was just sitting on the chain, and the shop had shut down because it was fake. Don't buy components on Amazon. Dad, I think you've gone through a similar thing. Is that right?
2 days before my accident on February 9th, I was on a ride on February 7th, and we were rolling up to a light that we saw was going to turn green. So everybody remained clipped in, you know, almost track standing, but, you know,
Yeah,
sort of.
slowly rolling. Yeah.
And when the light did turn green, I was in 3rd position. The guy in 1st position takes off. The guy in 2nd position in front of me stands up and puts pressure on his right pedal.
Yeah.
And chain snapped immediately.
Damn.
And he went down. He's just back on his bike now.
Yeah.
From the concussion that he got. He actually, when he hit the ground, we didn't know what happened at first. We were going so slow that nobody even touched him.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he went down, we all just went around him and like looked and said, John, what happened? His name was John Tonner. And he was laying on the ground and he was frozen, like just
Yeah.
like
Because he hit his head.
whacked
That's
his head.
scary.
Oh,
Right.
scary as
Because he put down the sort of, the quick power to accelerate from the light, and the chain snapped, but obviously his leg was still moving forward, his momentum still going forward, and he sort of toppled over, right?
and got whacked. And we didn't know at first. Like
Yeah.
we didn't know what happened. So he was actually still holding onto his handlebars. We got his hands, like his hands were like gripped onto the handlebars like a death grip. We got the bars out of his hands, took the bike over to the side of the road. We were in a road where two lanes turned left. We were at a T. Two lanes turned left and one lane turned right. So we were in the center lane because we were turning left.
Yeah.
And there's all these cars coming up behind us, some on the right, some on the left. And there's, I think,
Chaos.
11 or 12 guys, and some guys are going back to tell people, move over, both
Yeah.
ways. We took his bike to the side of the road, and somebody looked over at his bike and said, where's his chain? And it had broken at the quick link.
Okay. Yeah.
Pulled up around the rear cassette. So we didn't know what happened at first.
Yeah.
Ambulance came, they asked him what town he was in. I don't mean to laugh, but he didn't know what town he was in. He didn't know who the president of the United States was.
Damn, that's scary.
Oh, dude, it was wicked scary.
Yeah.
He finally got back on his bike a week ago today and rode 15 miles.
Nice. That's great.
And then he did another ride on Sunday with another guy, local guy, and I think they went like 40 miles, but this guy really kept his eye on him.
Yeah.
He said he still gets dizzy.
Yeah. Wow.
He's a Scotsman, so he's a little thick-headed. He got in the ambulance, but he got out of the ambulance.
But he didn't want to go?
Because he didn't want anyone to call his wife.
Wow.
So me and another guy rode back to the cars, got a vehicle. I stayed where the car was to watch the other guy's bike. He drove back, picked this guy up, drove him back to the parking lot where we all met.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in the passenger seat, and he rolled down the window. And I said, John, how are you feeling? He goes, why? What happened?
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, his wife definitely needed to be, he needed to go under concussion protocols or whatever,
And he never did.
He needs to be checked. He never did. Wow.
Never did. He could have had a brain bleed. He could have had anything. He didn't. Yep. I said, what helmet did you have on? He goes, oh, it was my casque. So I said, let me see it. And the other guy reached into the back seat. It wasn't a casque. It was a laser.
Oh.
He was that far out of it.
Yeah, that he didn't know. Yeah. And that was a fake chain? That was a chain he bought on Amazon?
Fake chain.
Yeah.
He still had the box like yours.
Yep.
The white.
Yep.
He took it in with the chain to the shop and they said, fake chain.
Fake chain. Yeah, you should not be buying components like this on Amazon. I know cycling is expensive. You don't necessarily need to buy a Dura-Ace chain. Like I have a fake Dura-Ace chain here with hollow pinholes because it's a little bit lighter, right? But like, you definitely should be going to your local bike shop or, like a website, Competitive Cyclist, Jensen, whatever it is, right? That like is certified and reputable. And, I have this chain now, I couldn't even return it. The shop was bad and they, sold however many chains to however many people. And then they shut down the shop and they reopened a new one. So there's like less of a paper trail and it's really nasty. That's really not great, and so definitely, make sure that you're not buying cassettes or chains or stuff like that on Amazon. It's perfectly fine to buy a cheaper Amazon jersey or but there's like these safety things that like, you know, safety's important. What the hell? Yeah. Just to save, I mean, what did I save? I probably saved like $6.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like it's not like it was half price or something. It was like, oh, okay. Instead of $60, it's $54. Great. I'm going to save myself some cash. And I didn't even get to use it. I still had to buy another one. And like, God forbid something happens, like where you actually get hurt. And it's really not, couldn't be less worth it, you know? Yeah.
Your life is worth $6.
Yeah. Thanks. At least 12, at least double, at least $12. Okay, one last thing. Talking about like bike maintenance, keeping up with your chain and stuff. I'm curious about cleaning your bike. I think this is also something that I learned from you. Is like you like to clean your bike often. I like to clean my bike often. I think that a clean bike is a happy bike, and a happy bike will treat you better. And I know people. I've said this to people, and they're like, "Well, your bike doesn't have feelings." It's like, well, if I go a really long ride, I will kiss the stem of my bike on the like last couple miles of the bike. I have such a passion for my bike. I want to keep it clean. I want to check the chain to see if it needs to be, replaced. I want to replace the chain so I don't have to replace my cassette as much. How do you feel about cleaning your bike? Are you wiping it down every ride? What's sort of your process? Does it depend on the weather? What's that like?
I wipe my bike down every ride.
Yeah.
Sometimes if it's we ride along the coast a lot. I'm talking right on the coast.
Right.
If it's wet and sandy and we stop for coffee, I'll bring a napkin out of the coffee shop and wipe my bike down there.
At the stop? At the coffee stop?
Yes. I learned that.
I've never done that. I don't think I
learned that from a guy here by the name of Tim Polito that wipes his bike down every time he stops. But I don't think I ride more than 100 miles here without totally cleaning my chain.
Totally cleaning it. And what are you using? Are you still using Rock and Roll Gold for lube these days?
I am.
Yeah. And do you use the yellow one or the red one? They're wet lube or they're dry lube?
I have both.
You have both. Do you tend to use one more than the other?
Yes. In the rainy season.
Yeah. You use the yellow.
Correct.
Yeah.
I know you know Ken Pastori.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I would go over his house on occasion and look at bikes because he's a wide variety of bikes. And one day I went into his basement to look at his bikes, and he had so much lube that I thought it was a bike shop.
Yeah.
And he gave me sold me
those
a couple
big ones.
Of big ones.
Yeah.
That I just keep refilling the little ones.
Yeah, I have some of that too.
Yeah. So I've been using that for years now.
Yeah, it's a great lube. Yeah,
it is. I know I did just buy some Squirt because I know you were using Squirt. Yeah,
actually, the aforementioned Ken Pastori, he brought some Squirt because we did a trash pickup ride, and he was like, "Hey, thanks for doing good things for the community. Here's some stuff." And we sort of divvied it up between those of us that like picked up stuff, and he gave us like coffee, and Felipe brought chocolates. There was all this nice stuff that we like gave to the people that picked up the trash, and the lube was left over. And I was like, I'll take the lube. Like, I love trying new lubes, and I have been sold on the Squirt. I previously was using Rock and Roll. I have the gold and I have the red. And I think those are great lubes. I think they're really easy lubes to use, but they are like, they're just a traditional oily type of lube, right? Squirt is a waxed-based emulsion, and
a little thicker.
It doesn't attract gunk like those other ones do. And the Squirt keeps your chain looking clean. It's a little bit different of an application process, but like basically you take a new chain, you degrease it totally, and then like to get the factory grease off, and then you do one roll with this wax-based lube, you let it dry, and then you do another application. And then from there on out, they simply just tell you to add more, right? Because it's wax-based, it's like getting in between the grooves and it's forcing the dirt out, and you don't need to degrease it as much. So it's a little bit more at first, like when you first set up your chain, but after that, it's really easy. And I think it probably lasts a little bit less than the Rock and Roll Gold does. basically every 200 miles or so, I'm applying new lube, but I love it. It sounds great. It stays clean. The chain always looks clean, even after a dirty ride, it still looks clean.
So when you take a new chain out of the package, not a fake one, but a new real one,
Yeah.
you totally clean it first?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this quite a bit, actually. At first, I wasn't doing it because I heard that the factory grease was good grease. But then once I started using Squirt themselves recommend immediately degreasing the chain with like a degreaser. I use Simple Green, but they say immediately degrease the chain, get everything off of it, let it dry, and then apply the squirt. They seem to think that it's better with a totally dry, clean chain as opposed to mixing their lube with the factory grease. Maybe that's a little, I don't know, you know what I mean? They also want you to buy more lube, so they want you to use it more. So I don't know how to feel about it, but it seems to be working at least. So yes, that is what I do at the moment. Well, you do not? Do you use factory grease?
Well, I buy SRAM chains.
Yep.
Either a Force or a Red.
Yep.
Depending on who's got what on sale.
Yep.
And I don't find the SRAM chains have a lube on them. I think it is more of a wax based.
Yeah, the Shimano calls it, I'm mostly been buying Shimano chains. They call it a factory grease. So it definitely feels thicker. It's thicker. It's like, it's like almost like a crude oil that you would find on like a car chain. You know what I mean? Like, it's different than the wax. It's different than the lube. It's different.
Do your fingers get dirty when you touch the brand new chain on a Shimano chain?
Does it get dirty?
Oily?
I want to say dirty, filmy. It's not even like a thick oil, but there is something on there. Yeah. Yeah. You definitely would want to like wash your hands before like touching your computer or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I do not clean the chain right out of the package.
Yeah.
I find when you do put on a new SRAM chain,
yeah,
the first time it gets wet, then you're done.
Right, that grease is gone. That lube is gone. It's washed away.
Whatever it is, wax based.
Yeah.
Has to be completely cleaned off and then apply whatever you want to apply.
Yeah. Do you use one of those chain scrubber things? One of those Park Tool chain scrubbers?
I do. Sometimes I take the chain right off the quick link and put it in a little container and really shake it up and let it sit there for a while, then shake it up some more, and then hang it and let it dry pretty good. I know they say you shouldn't use a quick link more than once.
Yeah, and that's something I found out relatively recently, like within the past year. That seems wild to me.
I do put the quick link back on. You can tell if it's still tight. You have the Park chain tool to unhook the quick link?
I don't think I have a Park Tool one. I have an off brand. It's not Park Tool, but yeah, I have the quick link remover, and you can definitely tell when a quick link has been worn. It's almost too easy to pop back in.
Exactly. So I might do it if I'm going to take it off. I might take the chain completely off every 400 or 500 miles to really get it clean and get it clean, everything. Yeah. But I'll use the quick link until the
chain's new. Yeah, till the chain's due. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I probably clean my cassette a little bit more thoroughly than I clean my chain because of the sport that I use. I feel like I don't have to clean my chain that often, but I love to take the back wheel off and put a microfiber in between and
floss it.
And do that little flossing. I think that feels rewarding. That feels like a good thing to do, cleaning your cassette.
So do you ever take the cassette right off the hub?
Not that often. No. That's like at the time I'm taking it to the bike shop because I'm hearing a weird click, or I feel like maybe if I feel like there's a little bit of play in it, like I feel like it's wiggling around a little bit, but I haven't had to do that in quite some time, actually. Like take it off and see if there's like grit and grime in there. I mean, I'm sure there is grit and grime in there. I replaced my free hub relatively recently, so I know it has been like cleaned and maintained. But no, do you take your cassette off often?
Probably more often than most.
Yeah.
When you look at the hub body, sometimes you see wear in the hub body.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, those teeth, the the teeth have been worn into from the cassette, essentially. Yeah,
Exactly. And you don't want to see
that's when you start to get play too, because
exactly. And
there's metal missing essentially, and it's allowing there to be some wiggle room on with your cassette on your free hub. I've experienced that before. Yeah. I mean, I will say I am very lucky that like NBX is not to plug NBX, but let's do it. You're wearing the t-shirt. I've got the jersey up behind me. It's a great shop. They look at my bike so quickly, and like they're calling me within 24 hours, like, hey, this is Matt, like we took the hub off or whatever. We took a look at this. So yeah.
Let me ask you a question about that.
Yeah.
When they look at your bike quickly, 2 questions.
Yeah.
Do you have to become like, are you an NBX member, I'll say? Because down here,
I'm an NBX ambassador. That's the terminology that's used.
The shop I go to down here.
Yep.
If you pay $35 a year, you become a team member.
Gotcha.
And then when you bring your bike in, even if there's 20 bikes ahead of you, you get priority service.
Yeah, I think I sort of get priority service because of my relationship with NBX, doing stuff for their social media and, like doing group rides. We're going to be more involved with NBX this season. We'll be doing a group ride from the shop like every Sunday. We did our winter bike league from the shop every Sunday. So I think it's more of a mutual relationship, right? Where like I'm sort of using the social media, like in, knowledge that I've learned over the years to like help NBX, and they sort of help me out and help, if you were local, they would help you out too. There's a few of us that are,
that's phenomenal.
Yeah, Matt is great. Yeah.
As is Ben.
Yeah, Ben is. Remember, I'm sure you remember this, but I think it was the second Century ride I've ever done. So looking back in my catalog of centuries that I've ridden, the second one I ever did was from your house in Coventry, the house I grew up in, me, you, and Jared. And I broke my shifter lever cable on my aluminum LA Sprint. It was a red mechanical 11-speed. Just snapped the lever right off about 4 miles south of NBX.
Wait, at Narrow River, I remember this.
Right at Narrow River, and we rode up to NBX. I was stuck. This is probably 30 miles from home, right? So mile 70, and I don't know. I know for a fact I was definitely in a different mental state than I am now with my cycling, that like being stuck in one gear or maybe 2 gears, I guess, because I had a big chain ring I could have switched. Would have been very hard for me. I rode to NBX. They swapped that bad boy in like 20 minutes, and I rode home with full gear. And that was huge. That was so nice of them. I had no relationship with Matt or NBX at the time. They knew you, but that was super helpful. Just rode the bike there, and they swapped it. And I think that was like the first time that I was like, wow, this is a great bike shop. Everyone is so nice here, obviously they charged us, and but that was great.
I remember Matt saying, yeah, I think I got one of those. Went into a drawer, pulled up.
I broke the actual lever off, the actual lever underneath the brake lever, the shifting lever, just like, I don't know what I did. I pushed it too hard. I still have it downstairs.
Put that on. Was it Ben or John?
It was a younger kid.
Oh,
it was a younger kid. I have no idea who it was. I don't think it was John. I didn't know the people who worked there as much, but I know it wasn't Ben, because Ben was, I think, still at Casters at the time. I also had an interaction with Ben I wasn't Casters. It's Trek now. It was Casters. It wasn't NBX at the time. Ben was working there in Apponaug, Warwick, Rhode Island.
It could have been the NBX Warwick.
That's what it was. Yeah, I'm sorry. It was NBX Warwick for sure. That was when I was riding a Villiers at the time. That was counterfeit. And I brought it in, and the front derailleur would constantly get out of whack because there was too much flex in the frame. It was a counterfeit frame, just like this counterfeit chain, and it was not good. Don't ride them. It was bad. I brought the bike there, and Ben basically was like, I'm going to fix this, but do not bring it here again, please. Get yourself an actual bike. And that's when I bought I bought the aluminum LA. I bought one for me and one for Jocelyn. And
I think he also told you the wheels on that bike could have folded underneath you.
were those like fake zips too? They're like fake zips or fake something.
Yes, I think it.
I don't remember him saying that, but I think that whole bike was counterfeit.
And you know where that bike was gotten from?
I do. We don't have to say that on the podcast.
Oh, yes, we can.
No, we shouldn't say that on the podcast. They know who they are if they're listening.
It was a local.
It was my choice to buy that bike. I knew it's not like they lied when they sold it to me. I knew it was counterfeit. There were other options. This was like I bought it secondhand from like a friend, more a friend of you, who's a guy that we've ridden with a bunch, and there were other bikes available that he was trying to get rid of that were real that I could have bought. I liked the way the Villiers Trestina looked. It just was a bad decision.
Where is that bike now?
Cut it in half. I cut that frame in half and threw it in the dump. I didn't want anyone else riding it. Can't have anyone else riding that bike. That bike was bad to ride. No one should be riding that bike. Same thing with the wheels. I drilled some holes in the wheels and got rid of them. Nice. Probably could have done some cool like art installation with them or something, but yeah, I wasn't about to try to get anyone to
mailbox on it or something.
Yeah, I could have. Yeah, but it was like I was at the old house when we lived in Narragansett, and I was like, I'm just getting rid of this. I was riding it on the trainer for a while, and I was even scared of riding it on the trainer, putting down like 400 watt effort, and it was like creaking, and I was like, I don't know about this. I'm not doing this anymore. Yeah.
Speaking of cutting a bike in half, do you know a guy that's on YouTube, Hambini?
I'm well aware of Hambini. Yes. Hambini, he's quite the character.
Should have sent him that bike.
Yeah, he would have cut it in half. He would have. What is he? Oh, he would have reamed it. He loves saying ream. He loves reaming bikes, and Hambini's interesting. I think he does. He like pokes holes in a lot of the bikes that are like super expensive, and they're not necessarily that much better than the bikes that are a little bit cheaper. So, yeah, Hambini's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. You got anything else you want to add before we get out of here? Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, man. Good to be there. Good to be on.
I'm glad you're feeling better. Maybe next time, I would like to have you on more often, but like hopefully we can sort of talk about your progression with your physical therapy and getting back on the bike and all that good stuff. And people are thinking about you and people care about you, and that must feel good a little bit. I know it feels good when I know people are caring about me. So
I had a guy contact me 2 or 3 days ago that hadn't heard about it, and I've ridden centuries with him. I didn't announce it here either. Like I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I was with 3 other guys the day of the crash, and they obviously told people what happened, and word got around.
Sure.
But it was, I'm not a Facebook.
Right, it wasn't a secret. Right. It wasn't a secret, but like did you ever upload that ride to Strava? You lost those miles. Didn't you?
I uploaded.
Did you upload it? Did you?
Look, on February 9th, then you know what
I didn't know that you did. Because I remember seeing like Nigel's ride from that day, right? You were riding with Nigel, a guy that I've ridden with before, very nice guy.
Nigel and Bill.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And so I remember seeing Nigel's ride and going to like who he rode with and seeing these other guys, Dick and Bill. I don't know them.
You know Bill. We rode in San Antonio with Bill Haslinger.
No.
Big guy.
Okay, well now I feel badly for saying that on the podcast, but sorry, Bill. I guess we're not friends on Strava at least. And so yeah, that's I haven't gone back and looked.
If you look, the name of the ride is Boy, That Was Dumb.
Oh, really? How long after the ride did you actually upload it?
Oh, maybe a week after, because I was, pretty out of it in the hospital for the first week.
Yeah. Does it show what your top speed was?
My top, and if you look at how it gives you the graph?
Yeah.
I went from 35.9 to 0 immediately. And one guy, the barefoot biker, Kyle Larson?
Yeah.
He says to me, like he texted me or put it on Strava on that ride, that's the fastest I've ever seen somebody go 36 to 0.
I see it now. I've never seen it. I'm looking at it on my phone. Yeah. Holy cow. The speed at the end. It's the second fastest that you had done in the ride. It looks like you were maybe 5 miles before you were going a little bit quicker. But according to the graph, it just drops right off. Damn, that's scary.
It
That's some
was,
scary shit.
I stood up and walked off the side of the road though.
Oh, you're tough guy.
I don't
Just
know.
like spoilers, just like Primoz today. Primoz got up. Primoz is one tough motherfucker. He stood up and walked into the team car today after that big crash. Man, trunk taken out of his ass, just walking over. That's brutal. That shit's brutal.
My buddy Nigel
Like,
said I sat on the curb and went like this. Motherfucker. Motherfucker.
I bet. Oh, I bet. Damn. Well, I don't think we have to say it, but I think we're all glad you're okay. And thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for sharing, because I think, not that we were trying to keep it a secret, but it is like, it can be embarrassing, or maybe it's, like, it's better to share it though. It is better to share it. It's better to, be like, hey, while cycling is a calculated risk. No, I'm sorry. Let me fucking finish for a second, and then you can go. Cycling might be a calculated risk, but you can mitigate certain risks. So yeah, but sorry, what were you going to say? You're not embarrassed?
I'm not embarrassed, and I don't want to talk too loud in case mom's listening.
Yeah.
When I was going,
is she going to listen to the episode?
She might. But when I was drafting the landscape trailer,
yeah,
I was having so much fun.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
You're not thinking about what could happen.
No.
Here's what I was thinking. I thought I had a free ride. I didn't realize there was a right-hand turn that this guy could take. Because it was a new development. Yeah. And I was coming to a Florida hill, an overpass.
So you're going to take any advantage you can to get over that 30-foot bump.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking KOM on the bump. And I look down and I'm doing 34, 35. And so, there were points I wasn't even pedaling.
Yeah, it's sucking along.
It's sucking me along.
Yeah.
But all he had to do was touch his brakes a tiny bit, and I was 3 to 4 feet off the end of the trailer, which
not enough time to stop. Yeah. No, that's something, I sort of alluded to it with the crash that Primoz was in. There was a big crash in a pro race today, and it's just scary, right? I mean, but I think, I hate to say that, like, the thrill is part of the fun for me, because that's not like, but you know what I mean? That's part of it. Like, and not necessarily like drafting behind a car, but just even going quickly down a hill, right? Or like a couple of curves, and you find the right line, and you feel good, you feel smooth. It's, it's sort of all coming together, right? Like your experience with riding before, and, how you can sort of, not to say that you need to take crazy risks, right? Because that is obviously silly and it's not worth it. But like the thrill of cycling and the excitement of like zooming around on your bike makes you feel a little bit like a kid again, makes you feel free. And it's part of for me at least, it's part of the allure of riding your bike. It's part of what makes it so much fun,
I've always said that riding a bicycle at speed, whether it's on the flats, downhill, is the closest you can get to flying.
Sure.
Without being in a plane.
Yeah. Right.
The wind is in your face. Especially on windy roads like in Rhode Island. Like take Plain Meeting House Road, for instance, coming from 102, bombing that thing downhill. I mean, I've seen guys on that road not make that corner.
I'm sure. That's a nasty corner at the bottom. That's like more than a 90-degree corner.
I've been
right.
I think I was with you one time bombing that hill.
Yeah.
46 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Bang the corner a little too early and end up way across the yellow line, almost in the shit on the left-hand side of the road.
On the other side. Because it is a double corner. It sort of banks right and then banks left. The left isn't as extreme as the right, but still it's pretty quick, and like, if you approach it slightly the wrong way, you're hitting that apex wrong. It's just, not great, or it can be not great. So
pays to be careful, I guess.
It does pay to be careful. I think that's a great way to go out. Yeah. Pays to be careful. Now, understand that it is risky getting on your bike. Don't take that for granted. Be careful, be safe. And cool. Thanks, Dad. Love you.
You too, man.
Thanks for coming on the podcast. We'll have you again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Bye. Oh, what is this? What are those? What the hell? You threw up a peace sign and balloons came up? Oh my
I didn't do that.
Wow, okay.
I didn't do that.
All right, that's how we're going to end the show, with some balloons. That was great. Thanks.
All right. Love you.
Love you too.
We are It's Just a Hill, a cycling club that promotes inclusion, judgment-free, with no gatekeepers. Focused on creating content from behind the handlebars to in the studio, It's Just a Hill is producing videos and podcasts to spread the message that cycling is for everyone. We are focused on reminding everyone that riding your bike can help you overcome any obstacle, because after all, it's just a hill.
Decaf left, regular right. Decaf left, regular right. Very challenging work.